force over the years. But we've had a lot of bad mayors too. We had a mayor that stole a lot of money from the county, and her whole family used tax money to pay gas to go. It was the city police of Alamo and the mayor and her whole entire family was using government vehicles for private use all the time, using a lot of gas, and not letting people speak at the city council. It was so bad she went to jail, I believe. And the governor put in a temporary stay in her place till we could have an election. I don't even know who the mayor of Alamo is right now. The mayor before her, they were corrupt too. I don't want to say so much, but I mean, they took a lot of material that was supposed to go for the school and Board of Education. They put it on their personal house. So there's a lot of corruption, and it's in the headlines. And just this last week, I've seen 2 judges busted, one for sex trafficking and one for child abuse images on their phone. So, and there's another sheriff and 2 other sheriffs in 2 other counties involved in sex trafficking. So, you got to think about this. We got 2 different judges, one guilty of sex trafficking and one judge had child abuse images on his phone. We had multiple sheriffs in 2 other counties involved in sex trafficking. They had a local police. So it's just like you never know who you can go to, and it seems the higher you go up to, it just gets worse. So how do you fix the problem? You don't know. Who can you trust? Who can you talk to? Who can you report these people to? They're all seem to be the one big club. Seems to be very decent men are few and far in between when it comes to government office holders. And maybe, hopefully, it's not like that all the way across the entire country. But it kind of seems to be. There's a lot of people, like I know one man, that a lot of people thought he was a good man. But if they only knew. They only knew. So it's like if you go and you try to clean up the corruption, you're probably just going to tip them off. And then they're going to come and plant evidence on you or murder you. And you wind up in prison accused of something you never did while they keep on doing what they're doing. So what do you do? I don't believe the rumors, but there's rumors that one day the governments around the world are planning on cutting off the power and letting it go all crazy, and then letting the world government come in and act like they're saving the day, letting everything go to anarchy on purpose. I hope that doesn't happen for the sake of all the good people. But you know what? It might be what we need. A chance to level the playing field. Level the playing field. Let it be a man against a man instead of a man against the state. Hey, Wade Purvis. God bless you. Hey, Ronaldo. So, it's Friday. And I mean, it's almost 4 o'clock. I think by the time I get to Alamo, it probably will be 5 o'clock. Geiger will probably be done with his shop by 4:50. So I'm probably not going to be able to get there in time. Yesterday when I got off work, I had a flat tire and the valve stem was tore. They said, go up there by the shop, it'll be $10. It was $30. And, you know, I was sick a lot a week ago, so I checked it a bit. But I got some good news. I haven't coughed up any blood today. So, you know, it's 3 or 4 days, I don't really remember, of me coughing up blood after I quit smoking. But today, no blood. So, that's good. And not throughout the entire day, not just in the morning, not at any time was there even the smallest speck of blood in anything I coughed up. I haven't ate any food. I've only drank water. I was going to go into a 5 to 7 day fast to help my body repair itself. But I'm thinking that I might transition to that a little slower. Just not eat no carbs, no sugar. Just eat protein and fat. Just eat meat a few days. And then go into a total fast. And just let me still be eating and not hungry while my body's switching over to burning ketones. And then if I do have any too much, you know, that'll let my body repair my lungs a lot faster and more efficiently. God bless, bro. Thank you for that. God bless y'all too. You know, there's some things like personal enemies that I have. And sometimes I'm really tempted to take vengeance, but it's like God works on my heart. He's like, you know, you need forgiveness for things too. And, you know, I think, well, what if they lie on me and they, you know, and I wind up losing everything I got because the enemies I've made. And it's not really about that, really. It's more about having treasure in heaven. It's more about having good character. It's more about character development, I think. I think a lot in life is about character development. And so I'm just not going to worry. You know, there's always corrupt and evil men in the world. There's no way to really make a difference without making enemies. If you make any positive change, somebody's not going to like it. The only way to not have enemies is to just not ever stand up for nothing and not ever do or accomplish anything. It's just important that you have the right enemies and the right allies. You know, why do you have enemies? Don't have enemies because you're being an enemy to mankind. Have enemies because you're standing up for virtue and truth. I tell you though, this work week's been rough on me. So I'm so glad the weekend's here. And this heat's been hard on my fruit trees. And, you know, that tag light I got a ticket for, it turned out when I hit that deer, it shut the light out where it comes in through the hole, feeds in through the hole of that back part of the truck. Both tag lights still work. So I got ticketed for a tag light, held up, searched forever, nothing there. I try to be just courteous. I try to just show them, hey, you know, y'all keep searching and not finding nothing. I give them permission to search. Because I think maybe they'll finally realize they're wasting their time. But no, they want to try to plant something on me till I catch them in the act and call them out on it, and they get scared. But let me ask you something. Why are they filing the police report and saying the officer that pulled me over is the backup one and the backup one's the other one? Why are they switching body cameras? Why are they operating with defective body cameras? And why are they forgetting to turn their body cameras on? Why every time do I, Paul Dustin Brown, how come every time I get pulled over by the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office, how come there's always an issue with the body camera? How come the guy pulling me over's body camera don't work that day? How come the other guy forgot to turn his body camera on? And how come this time they switched body cameras? And you know the body camera's at the chest. That's why they want to reach their hands under the seat and try to plant something. But they fucking know. When Brittany was like, drunk, you should have been clean. I don't want to tell her business. She should have been clean half a year. So she was like, drug test me. Then he got scared. But what he tried to do is get her to be scared and her to say that it was mine. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to get us to self-incriminate or something else. But I am fucking tired of them body cameras not working. And I like Giles, but he ain't done nothing about it. And I'm saying, I don't know, what do I got to do? Write a letter to the governor, the senators, Congress, the FBI, the GBI? Do I got to get up a petition in Wheeler County? Do I got to personally sue people? What do I got to do? Because, I mean, I'm going to work to pay these people. I almost said another word. You know, I don't take any government assistance. I work by the sweat of my brow. I work 12 hours covered in insulation and working in the heat, and then get home and I'm hurting. Every joint in my body's hurting. I don't want to go to town. But Brittany's a good woman. She does so much for me. She wants to go to Dairy Queen, so I got to take her to Dairy Queen. There's a pothole on the right side of the road where it always is. Deer tend to cross on that side. Nobody's coming in the oncoming traffic. So I move over, and nobody's on the oncoming traffic. And I barely touch that yellow line, so I get pulled over. And then he searches. There ain't nothing there. I get, I've told the story on some other lives, but I'm just saying, I'm a working taxpayer that pays these people. And I'm working sometimes. It could be, I'm working in very hellish conditions sometimes, and I'm just trying to get something to eat. And it's not even safe for me to go get nothing to eat. And the man, I think he's just so mad at me because I called him a coward. But he is really. And it's not just me, okay? I'm not going to say, I work with somebody at work. He's had the same issue. And two of the people that I work with have the same issue. His cousins had the same issue of this heavy, and it's the same man. It's Brian Vickers. It's the same man. And, it's just, we're working. Every one of us is working a job Brian Vickers couldn't do. He couldn't do it. He wouldn't work in that heat and all that. And I know he wouldn't. He didn't get into the shape he's in being able to work like we work. And we pay his check. He gets paid off the taxpayers' money. He doesn't provide any service or any good that generates anything to the economy except for if he was to keep the market safe. You know how law and order helps people trade and do business. But then he's not doing that. He's people, not rapists, not going after them, not the same drug houses that have been open for decades. He ain't going after them. Not the police corruption. They ain't going to them. Us good net taxpayers, us people who just work and go to work, they want to harass us on our way to work or our way to get something to eat. They slowing the economy down. They're not helping. And they don't recover anything stolen. And they don't stop anything from being stolen. And when you call them about something like that, they're not going to ever show up. They'll be like, we'll be down there in a little bit. We'll call you back, and never show up. But mostly, they just want to, and I know it's important that we don't just let people drive their cars like crazy and everything else. We got to have, rules for safety and everything like that. I'm not advocating for lawlessness, but I'm saying it says something about the people, how they prioritize what they enforce and what they don't enforce. And mostly they want something that's not any threat to them. They're not going to protect or serve anybody. They're just trying to draw revenue for the county. Pretty much. I got to say, there are 3 good cops, probably. And I really don't know. I ain't 100% that the 3 that I'm saying good is good. They might be involved in the corruption too. I don't know. But the rest of them, either I personally or other people have told me stories about it, they don't need to be there. They really don't need to be there. There needs to be a better vetting process. And I think there needs to be a better psychological evaluation before they hire cops. They need to do something. They need a better filter than the one they got. And also, I think that they need to have more of an understanding of the law and the Constitution and the rights of the American citizens. It seems like these cops are the most illiterate of anybody in the world about what the rights of the American citizens are. This cop, Brian Vickers, he threatens me. He tries to make me think that I'm breaking the law to accuse him of a crime. Are you insane? And the black cop that was with him said the same thing. Is he insane? Did Maurice Johnson not sell meth and steal pine straw bales from Browning Pine Straw when he was a sheriff? Did we not just see on the news a judge who had child abuse, child pornography on his phone? Don't tell me that just because someone's a judge or a sheriff or a senator that you're in the wrong to accuse them of a crime. They're the most elite criminals that exist. So anyway, I don't want to go on a rant and get in a bad mood about all this. You know, it's a good day. The work day's over. I was thinking about, hey, the work day's over. I'm tired and need to water them trees. But I was thinking, dang, you know, it's too late for me to go to the mechanic shop. I can't be driving in the evenings with a headlight out or anything because they're going to pull me over. They're going to plant something on me. That's what they're going to do. So I have to be very careful about how I move and operate. And I want to go water my fruit trees so they don't die. I've got I had $2,000, last time I checked, I had $2,000 invested in it. And I don't make a lot of money. I barely make more than minimum wage. So it is a big hurt for me to save up the money and invest in those fruit trees that will be feeding people in Wheeler County after I'm dead. Those olive trees may be there thousands of years after I'm dead. I'm a contributing, productive member of society. What I'm doing is good for the world. And I don't need this guy, dang, he flipped out, scared as hell. I'm in cuffs, being detained, not charged with a crime, and was let loose because what he accused me of, I was innocent of. But I still got cross cuffs, still got my shoulder pulling out of my shoulder, still got the back of my head hitting the car door and have a migraine for 2-3 days. Still treated like an animal, still treated with no decency, still treated with no respect. And the third time I'm searching and don't find nothing, and I'm getting mad about my milk being cold and my food being cold, they're telling me I'm being disrespectful. I don't owe you respect. You don't respect the American citizens. You've got way more in common with the redcoats than any Americans. They're redcoats. They just wear blue. Very few of them are true Americans. Very few of them. But you can say the same thing about the American population. Half of them have done gone commie. It's really vile and disgusting how they can celebrate murder like they do. But anyway, I was trying to get in a good mood, y'all. I am. It's just it's hard to sue them. They cover for one another. Exactly. And they do. And most of the people that know the dirt on them, the cops got so much on them, through missionary work, I learned a lot about the corruption of the cops, but then also, some of my exes, some of the people I've dated, they've got stories and most of the people that could testify and put these cops in prison, they're not going to, because they've got all kind of things that, a lot of them are, the police. It's like they'd have to sacrifice themselves to take the police down, because it's like for instance, the people who know that which cops are taking a cut off the drug trade and prostitution trade, well, they're the drug dealers. So, the drug dealer that knows the cop that he pays to let him sell his drugs, how's he gonna go testify against the cop and say how he knows he's doing it? Or the girls that was 16, 15, 14 when cops were paying their parents to fuck them. They work at the school. A lot of them, they are addicts. They'll go get busted. They had a DFACS called. There's all kind of reasons why the perversion of the cops continues. There's all kind of reasons. And you notice a lot of the good men that are cops, they don't really get promoted. They don't really move up that fast. You know, they don't. The really good men are not who they really want there. They want the ones that'll bend the rules. They want the ones that will trample all over the rights of the American citizens. They want the ones that'll bring in the most revenue as possible and the most prestige, like big busts and stuff like that. Which I'm not, you know, I'm conflicted about how I believe about the drug war, because on one hand, a lot of these hard drugs are devastating the country, but I just wish they would do it legally. I wish they'd make a constitutional amendment like they did for prohibition of alcohol. The federal government has no authority to ban drugs or regulate food or drugs to the American people. The federal government is completely out of line, usurping the authority of the states and the American people. And the Constitution makes it clear that the powers of the federal government are defined in the Constitution. And any powers not defined in the Constitution belong to the states and the people. So since the Constitution does not give the federal government the authority to regulate drugs, they are criminals when they do it. They should have passed a constitutional amendment, just like they did with alcohol, and then they changed it later. So every one of these cops that enforces it is really criminal and trampling all over the Constitution. It might as well be a redcoat. But at the same end, we do need to get these hard drugs. You know, we don't need to legalize them. I don't think it is good for the government or people in authority to say, yeah, we allow it. You know, I think they should be laws against, which you don't really have to have the federal government make these things illegal. State governments can do it. But most of these states, they follow the pressure of the federal government. So I think they need a constitutional amendment to give the federal government the authority to even do anything like the ATF or anything. The federal government is way out of line. And I'm not pro-drugs. I don't want people to misunderstand me. I'm not pro-drugs, but I am pro-Constitution. And it's really sad that there was enough of the American people ignorant of their rights and of the Constitution, and enough states and state legislators ignorant of their rights and ignorant of the Constitution, that the federal government was able to trample over the Constitution and act like they got all this authority that they do not have. But you can read it in the Constitution. I believe it's the 10th Amendment. I tell you though, probably it'd be good for somebody that did have the money, or if I have the money one day, to hire private investigators or like have people that are working with me that they give permission and they put recording devices, supersonic, something. It's going to take organization of the American citizens to really hold these corrupt cops and judges accountable. Maybe, but if you got somebody cuffed, if you got somebody detained, and you got a little woman that's like barely 100 pounds, that's had back surgery, is disabled, can't lift more than 10 pounds, and you're panicking saying there's two of you, there's one of me, and when you go to talk to me and I can't hear you, and you standing about 8 foot away from me while I'm cross-cuffed, and I take one step to try to hear you, there's still probably 5 foot between us, and you jump back, that's a coward. There ain't nothing else about it. So I don't really take back what I said. And some of it some of the things I've said, I was probably saying too much. I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to hit below the belt. I didn't have to talk about him being out of shape. I didn't have to talk about his eating habits. But I think the cowardness of the man is relevant because it makes him not be able, like you see a lot of female cops are very quick to pull a gun because they get scared. You do not need anybody. You need brave men to be cops and soldiers. And they either got it or they don't. And courage, this might be everything else in the video is trash compared to what I'm about to say. Courage is a virtue whose source is love for others. The coward doesn't love others. He's all about trying to save his own skin. He's trying to not feel pain. He's trying to just, and so he will not harness up the bravery to sacrifice pain or discomfort or his life for another person. So basically, everyone gets afraid. But to muster up the strength to overcome the fear, to do something noble, it requires bravery. And that bravery, that courage, it comes from love. And some people, they just love their self. They love pleasure. They don't have any greater principles or higher ideals. And so, like we've had good cops. There was a sheriff a long time ago when my granddaddy was alive who went to help somebody. There was a criminal holding up some hostages at gunpoint. I don't remember all the details. But he died in the line of duty. He was shot to death. But he was a good man, and he was a good sheriff. And he was also gunned down and killed unfairly and unjustly. But he put himself in harm's way to try to save somebody. He was a brave man. He was a good man, and he loved the people of Wheeler County. And you see, like with a lot of these school shootings where the cops, they just stood outside while kids kept getting shot up because they're too afraid of risking getting hurt. Now, if it would have been some poor person that can't afford a lawyer, they might grab him by his dreads and bust his head open on the pavement. There'll be plenty brave enough to do that. But if your children are in a school getting shot up one by one, the cops are going to all stand outside and say, hey, too scared to do something. Now, there have been a few cops go in and shoot the shooter, but, it's happened several times because you can't train somebody to have courage. The person has to actually have love in their heart for other people. All right, how's it going?